This conference will now be recorded.
I was waiting for that.
No worries.
Trustee Shane.
Here.
Colleen York. Here. Laura Ball.
Here.
Stevie Rajan.
Here.
Awesome. Okay, so first thing on our discussion items today is
public comment that's not on the agenda.
oh, sorry. Yep. Okay, we're gonna go to public comment. Does anybody have any public comment or announcements they would like to share?
I do.
Yes, please.
And just
Is that what you're doing?
yes. And just a quick reminder with the public comments, keep them down to, you have 3 minutes, and then state your name and if you're affiliated with any organizations, that'd be
Well,
helpful.
you just took my first 2 lines.
Well, here we go.
I'm Cindy Eden, and I'm here tonight representing the Shelter Cove Library, which, as you know, is a Parks and Recreation service. And for those of you, if you're newer or haven't been over to the library and don't know, we're completely volunteer run. I currently have well over a dozen volunteers. We keep the library open every day. In fact, we put in about 1,250 hours every year keeping the library organized and open. And we're, and we are a free lending library, not a public library. So that means you don't need a library card, and you come in and borrow whatever you would like and bring it back and donate what you have to us. That's pretty much 95% or more of what we have in there. So please come. And so the announcement I want to make, kind of 2 announcements. One is that we have the team put together a survey that we're going to be publishing and sending out next week to the community. And the purpose of it is to gather information about people who use the library as well as people who don't use the library or not know about the library, and how we can improve the services that we currently provide. So the announcement is look for that link to that survey. That'll be coming out. The Shelter Cove Library has a Facebook page, so we'll be posting it there, and we'll be also sending it through the Cove Connect, what was Pioneer's Cove Connect group email as well. So look for that. We really would love your input and appreciate that feedback that we'll get. And we'll, of course, share that feedback with the committee as well as the community. The second is kind of an announcement. Maybe I'm fudging it a little bit. We know that we want to, one service that we want to increase, we've done it before but not in a while, is to hold events for the community. One of which would be, for instance, showing movies, maybe documentaries, educational movies upstairs. We don't have room in the library, but upstairs we could go ahead and show it. Also, author talks. Here's one of our library volunteers who's just actually coming from the library. Thank you, Cass. Hi. So we would love to host those kinds of events, whether we'd actually like to do a monthly educational something up there. If you've been up there during an event, you know that it isn't really conducive to something like a movie or a book author talk or presentation. It's a little bit difficult because it is too bright, is number one. And also, it would be great if we had like a projection system, something wireless, sound. So I'm just bouncing this off of the committee. The library, we do have funds from fundraising that we would, be really interested in committing some of that towards it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Your time is up. And thank you. And email that list to the general manager.
Okay.
Any other public comment? No.
All right, so we will move on to our discussion items. We're going to start with our strategic plan survey results.
Yeah, so I'm not sure when this was, maybe a couple months ago, we had a survey online, and I think that there's a Pioneer email list too. Just trying to gauge the community's requests or desires, preferences for parks and recreation activities here in Cove. And we use a program that compiles some graphs, so we can display those graphs and try to differentiate everybody. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so one of the questions was enhance the golf course. That was one of how do people rate the golf course, or the idea of enhancing the golf course. And how this survey worked was there was a grade of 1 through 5, 1 meaning least important, 5 meaning most important, 1 heart to 5 hearts. And you can see on this graph, the golf course was marked pretty high. The bottom bar is the 5 bar, so what, 13, 23, 30% of people who answered the question. Kind of strange how the survey worked, but basically it says 30%, 3.2 average, I guess is the score. So average of 3.2 hearts for enhancing the golf course out of 5. Encourage recreation in arts and nature, slightly higher average, I guess considered more important by those who answered the survey. We have a lot of arts and nature activities here. I've had some in the past too. Upgrade the community clubhouse, got the same score, 3.6, very high rating. So we all know the community clubhouse, just as Cynthia was speaking, appeals to a lot of people, different groups and activities. Enhance the airport, did not get as high of a rating, 2.8. We do know it's important, especially with all the medevacs we've been having. But as far as parks and recreation activities, may not rank very high. And then this is sort of like a word graph. It's kind of hard to see all the words that people commented on the survey. And the bigger words are the ones that were mentioned more often, which is funny when airport looks like the biggest word in that group when it was least rated. And then the question was, please expand on any of the above projects with your specific ideas. So I guess people had a lot of ideas about the airport. And this one was any additional ideas or comments for the Parks and Recreation Committee. Biggest word there is community. So definitely involve the community, which is what we're doing here right now. So hopefully this helps. Oh, yeah. And there were written comments in addition to just the grading. And we do have some copies of those written comments. Pretty extensive, 8 different pages on all the different topics. So not really sure what discussion we want to have going forward on this, but I'll leave it up to you guys to ask any questions.
We'll open up to the committee first. Does anybody have any comments that they have on the survey results?
Just real quick, so it looks like we have the sports court under the recreation, correct? That's what it looks like, how we've combined that. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And I think my only comment is that I was interested in seeing how many people, although they were commenting on a parks and recreational survey, they really, I think the community does understand the need for our upgrading and maintaining our infrastructure and where they want to see tax dollars spent. So I just found that interesting. I wasn't quite expecting that response when we were asking about more recreational development. So.
Okay, Pauline and you guys are good. All right, we're going to open it up to public comment. Is there any public comment about this strategic plan survey result? No?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
kind of just curious because we are going to.
Can you come up to the podium? For our public comments, can we come up to the
To
public?
go up there?
Yes, you need to go with them.
Get my exercise.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, because we are sending our survey out, so I'm kind of curious how you got the word out about the survey, frequency of sending it out, how effective you felt that was, what advice you might have, because we're going to be doing the same thing, and maybe the number of people who responded, I guess, and what length of time that you left for that response from the time that you published it.
Sure, I'll let Jessica answer that.
You know what, I would have to go look up how many people responded, so I don't know the answer to that. We put the word out through the, newsletter we include with our billing. I believe we put a copy of the survey in the billing for people who wanted to fill it out in a paper format with information to return it to the office. And we put it on on our Facebook page, and we also put it, on the Cove Connect email listserv. And what we did notice through that was the highest spike in response came after the Cove Connect email. That was the most effective mode of getting the word out.
Okay, great. And then I think it was probably shared on like the community Facebook
Yes.
sites
Yes,
as
it
well,
was.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
And did you mention we had it on the website?
Oh, yeah, I think there was a link on the website. And so, and we featured a QR code for ease of access to the survey. So you could scan the QR code with your phone and the survey would pop up. And we use ArcGIS for that survey format. And one thing, mostly because we pay a good service fee to ArcGIS for some of our other programs.
Yeah.
But it does do some compilations of information and some extracting information in a way, so it was nice to have that format.
So that's how that's where the survey went to, the data from the survey went
Yes.
through ArcGIS?
Yes.
Oh, I see, okay.
You can also do Google Docs.
Yeah, we were gonna do a Google survey.
Yeah. I've never used it, so I can't compare, but
Yeah, we'll give that a shot.
We used that for Cove Connect and it was quite lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked really, really well
And
for
I
us.
use chat to go ahead and create the format too, like to bring it in.
Yeah. If you need help with that, you can let me know and I'll help you. Yeah, of course. Anything for the library.
And I believe, I don't have the exact number of participants in the survey, but I think it was like 70 something, wasn't it? It was,
I looked that up. I'm thinking it was more like 50. But
oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's average it out.
Between 50 and 70 is
Yeah.
the sweet spot.
We should have had that information, but we don't have that right in front of us.
Okay, is there any other public comment before we move on? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the sports court update.
All right, so sports court update discussion topic here. Just to provide some background, the district began the process to apply for the 2018 Parks Bond Act per capita grant allocated by the California Department of Parks and Recreation back in 2020. The district formally applied for the grant in 2021 in the amount of $177,952, committing to an in-kind allotment of $62,048. The district's decision was to use these potential funds to construct a multi-use sports court on Lot MMM near the community clubhouse, District Greenville. Just to provide some information, those figures equal $240,000, which at the time was the internal estimate of the project of what that would cost. The district's decision, the district received notice of the grant award in 2022. In September 2022, based on internally estimated revised costs for the project, the RID board voted to voluntarily increase the in-kind commitment to $110,000. Throughout 2022 and 2023, the district worked with engineers to design the court and begin the permitting process with the county. The designs were further modified with input from the community last year. Finally, this year, the design process and permitting are completed. At present, I am currently working on the notice inviting bids for construction of the project and plan to issue it hopefully within a week or two. There will be a 1-month window before scheduling the opening of bids and subsequent notice to proceed to the qualified low bidder. Due to the timing of this process and the incoming rain season, construction will most likely occur next spring in 2026. To date, the district has spent $53,069.35 of its committed in-kind contribution for the sports courts project, all on designs and permitting. However, recent community concerns about this project, including questioning by some RID board members and numerous suggestions to relocate the sports courts, have spurred staff to pursue alternatives to the project. Because the grant is deed restricted to lot MMM near the community clubhouse, staff recently asked the grant administrator via email if the funds could be used, for instance, to rehabilitate the community clubhouse instead of constructing the sports courts. The grant administrator stated that this is possible and that this potential scope change is actually really simple. The only stipulation the grant administrator stressed was the deadline for completion, which is December 31st, 2027. If we, just as a background also, we did ask previously if we could move the courts to a different location, and the grant administrator said we'd have to reapply for the grant. So it would not be applicable. Staff also asked the grant administrator what would happen to the in-kind costs incurred to date. That $53,000, could they be attributed to a change in project scope, or would they reset for a new scope? The grant administrator answered that this project requires zero match or in-kind, as you are designated a low-income community. Any funds spent to date on the project are an eligible expense and can be requested for reimbursement. The Parks and Recreation Committee is tasked today with discussing this option should the project scope be changed for the community clubhouse. If so, could the potential change in scope be completed by the December 31st, 2027 deadline? What direction does the committee provide to the RID board, who will, I'm hoping, I'm planning to have discussed this topic at next month's regular board meeting? So I'll leave it up to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much.
Do
Do
you
you
want
want to put the presentation up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so while Chris gets a little presentation up here, and before we go into discussion as a board, we're just gonna, or sorry, as a committee, want to preface this that the reason why this committee has been founded is for us to do the research and development on these things and figure out, in the grand scheme and grand scope of things, what is best for the community as a whole. So we're going to go through several options here when Chris gets this up.
Okay, I got it.
Sweet. Okay, so we made a little tagline for the sports court. So a court for all strengthening community through play. And I also want to say here, by going through this, even if we do reallocate the grant, we still want to build a sports court. So that's not what's going to happen here. It's like we don't want a sports court. We just want to make sure that it's in the right location for the right reasons that's best for the community as a whole. So next slide, Chris, whenever you're ready. There we go. Okay, so our vision statement for this project going forward, we're going to do this the right way now. The Shelter Cove Sports Court will be a vibrant hub for health, connection, and recreation, bringing together residents of all ages to play, move, grow the community supported by the Resort Improvement District. This court will serve as a safe and welcoming space that inspires active living, fosters teamwork, and strengthens the bonds that make Shelter Cove a unique and thriving place to call home. Okay, so after, some fun Facebook commenting, we decided the best thing to do would be to lay out and let you guys know where the proposed sports court is, where it currently is, and an alternate site. So we're going to go through those one by one. The pros and cons of each. So we're going to start here. So this is where the current scope is. This is the proposed sports court, which is there on the other side of that parking lot. So the pros, obviously, we have a board-approved location. The grant has been approved for the location. Plans have been developed. Permits have been granted by Humboldt County, and it is centrally located in the hub. So changes existing recreational horseshoe bocce ball, which is frequently used. We all love horseshoe Thursday. Prohibits overflow parking for community centers, so we cannot use this as overflow because this will be fenced in. And even if it wasn't fenced in, we'd have oil spills and it would be a mess. We can't park on there, and we're not going to park on something we paid 200 grand for. So then the next thing is that this is also a very windy area. It's also full sun, so being on asphalt concrete, that's going to increase the temperature of play. The next thing is the fencing, diminishing our views and the grass. Displacing normal events that we have at the community center. It's expensive. The biggest thing I think for me was the FA regulations. This restricts any tournaments, public gatherings, events. So this location only allows for one-on-one play. Yeah.
I could read what it says in the permit on that.
Absolutely,
on that
please
front.
do.
Yeah, what it said in the permit was, it was restrictive of group recreation activity, which is, so the airport manager or the aviation director said that they would consider a group recreation activity like organized events, tournaments, but they would accept if RID residents and or visitors decide to utilize the facility to go shoot hoops, play 3-on-3, 5-on-5 on a random basis, they would consider that okay. They would not consider that a group activity. So they're very restrictive on group activities.
Right.
And that includes like leagues or certain sports associations holding planned, like we just said, tournaments and stuff like that.
They define a group recreation activity would be a collection of persons utilizing the facilities, basketball or pickleball courts here, in an organized fashion, i.e. a hypothetical Shelter Cove Resort Basketball League that promotes for new membership online, has set dates, times for games, has defined teams, etc. So that's what they're restricting.
Thank you. That's perfect. Okay, whenever you're ready, next one. Okay, so this is the current pickleball court. So this is at the end of the Bill Franklin Trail, Nature Trail, Humboldt Loop. I'm sure you all have been there. So pros, it's a beautiful location. It's tucked away. It's already completed. There's plenty of parking. It's next to the nature trail. Next. The cons are it's obviously located on county roads without any approval. We have a mix of district and residential lots, so we can't buy all of them next to each other and make that a happy ending for that area. More volunteer maintenance in that area too. There's lots of trees, lots of debris, it gets slick, and it's for pickleball only. Now this is one location that we found. Lovely Pauline showed it to Tasha and I, and after looking at it, we do think that this does have a lot of pros. So this area is the north end of the airport by the watershed. So this was where I guess there had been planned to be a basketball court in what was like 2018, 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. So it is already leveled out. It's already tamped down. It's already leveled. There's enough space for tons of things. So we have no FAA regulations. So this allows for tournaments and public gathering and events. It gives recreation to the north end side of businesses instead of everything being located in that central hub, which I think would be great. We'd love some recreation over on that side too. It's less windy, so you have almost 3 sides of wind block, and it is sunny, so you have a little mix of sun and shade. It doesn't disrupt our view shed. It's closer to the current pickleball courts. If you guys did want to do some sort of tournament and you use both areas, that would be closer and more possible. Room for parking. So we think there's maybe about room for 4 or 5 spots, but we also have the overflow for the inn and Mimochima, which is only open seasonally and on the weekends. Room for parking, bleachers, picnic tables for the recreational play. So you can put picnic tables out there, benches, bleachers. It could be more of a recreational area. The trail is right behind it that goes to the labyrinth, which is lovely. And like I expressed earlier, it's already flattened and tamped, so this is going to save on excavation costs too, which could maybe bring that 200 and some change down from the original.
If I could just add also with the parking, it is right next to the labyrinth trail, so you could also have additional parking at the labyrinth.
Okay, so cons. So of course we need new grants. Permit needed, plans, board approval, potential on our zoning restrictions. We're looking into that. That's part of our research and development.
This is the video.
And then my lovely partner took a drone video of the area so you guys can get a better look at it. I don't know how it's gonna play on
Is there
GoTo.
sound?
I swear his tissue looks better.
I think it's the internet.
It is the internet, and I think too, 'cause you're sharing it on GoToMeeting. But this is the area, so that area there in the back is already camped out. We've got some space for parking here on the right-hand side. You've got the golf course, you've got the trail, you've got beautiful views, right next to the airport. So we really think this is, a great location.
What, what I would like to clarify with what the in our zoning restrictions, what that is natural resource restrictions. And I believe several years ago when we've tried to have a project there, that did come into play. However, that was over 10 plus years ago. And I think that with the eco tourism and that the Cove community is starting to transform into, that it would be beneficial to revisit that location for development. And part of that restriction is you're not allowed to develop too close to the creek. There's a creek there that happens to be unnamed, so hopefully we'll come up with a name for it. And so we might, we need to do some further research and development on that aspect. However, I would add that in other locations in the Cove, the county has approved development, with and waiving those restrictions. So I do think that there is a pretty good chance that we could revisit that and see.
Viable space.
Yeah, it's a pretty viable space.
Okay, perfect. So here's a little update on this. So as you kind of just heard Chris's full blurb, the general manager consulted with the grant administrator regarding relocating a proposed sports court to the alternate site. Unfortunately, the location cannot be changed without withdrawing the current application and applying. However, through this process, we learned that the scope of work can be revised to focus on improvements to the community/evacuation center, addressing long-standing concerns such as necessary updates, mold remediation, and interior redesign. The shift would ultimately benefit the community as a whole more than the sports court by enhancing a critical facility that serves all the residents in times of need as well as for everyday gatherings. And here's a side-by-side comparison. So the primary use of the sports court would be football, basketball, recreation. The community center, you're going to have community gatherings, events, emergency shelter. Accessibility, we have limited players and participants. The community center is open to all ages and residents year-round. Community benefit, recreation, and fitness, and the community center is inclusive, long-term benefit for the entire community. There's obviously no emergency use for the sports court, and the community evacuation center plays a critical role in evacuations and emergency response. The grant feasibility, unfortunately, the original location is not changeable. However, with the community center, we can take that grant, reallocate it, and then that scope change can go to the community center. Maintenance upkeep, you have regular court maintenance. Our updates for the community center are going to be reducing mold, improving safety, and modernizing the interior. Year-round use, sports court is seasonal, depending on the year and our weather. Community center continuous use for meetings, events, and emergency operations. Inclusivity, sport focused, and of course, community center is for all of us, families, seniors, youth, residents. So we did a little bit of research and we found grants that we can apply for directly as a special district for another sports court. And we also found grants where we can partner with a nonprofit or school district. So Cove Connect or SCARF or any of those, we can apply for other grants here. And these are just some of very many where we could easily come up with that same amount of money and change the location and still be able to use the original funds for the community. And then our survey results, almost 1/3 of the survey participants said that they wanted to see updates to the community center. So maximizing community impact through this grant reallocation. So emergency readiness serves as a main evacuation shelter. Upgrades will improve air quality, safety, and accessibility. Inclusive access, usable by all ages and activities for events, classes, and meetings. Everyday utilities support senior programs, youth activities, public meetings and celebrations, income and economic opportunity. One of the ideas that we have is also upgrading the kitchen to be a commercial kitchen. So then we're allowing cottage bakers and caterers and food entrepreneurs to rent the space. Maybe we'll do chef pop-ups, but it will bring a little bit more revenue into it and serve the community with our entrepreneurship. Event rentals. Let's jazz it up. We can do weddings, reunions, retreats, workshops. If we really play our cards right, this community center can really become something great here. Classes and programs, fitness, cooking, art and training, vendor events, indoor markets, bazaars, craft fairs. So in conclusion, redirecting the grant to Community Evacuation Center benefits everyone, supports the local economy, boosts its long-term sustainability, and strengthens our community resilience. So here would be the process. So it's a very simple 4-step scope: review and approval, so we confirm with the grant administrator the scope change and get the formal approval from the RIG board. Then we'll have community input again. We share the idea with all the residents because this is just discussion. Gather feedback and make sure the change reflects community needs. Then we submit it to the grantor. We send the updated plan, budget, community support materials to the grant administrator for review, and then move forward. Once it's approved, we start the new project and keep the community informed on the progress. Okay, so before we go to public comment, I want to make sure that the board gets an opportunity. I'm so sorry. I'm used to connect. The committee has an opportunity to say anything about this or about these ideas and any thoughts that you all have.
When I first heard that we could do this, change the scope, I mean, I knew we were going to get a little bit of backlash because we've all been expecting this sports court for, 10, 12 years now. But at the same time, there's also a huge need to improve our existing community center. That building services the entire community with special events, and also calling it an evacuation and emergency center is also something that I had never really thought about in the past, but it makes sense that we have a place in an emergency where we can direct visitors, residents to gather to get information. So I'm kind of feeling like I think it's a good idea to change the scope of the grant and to focus on the community center and start the process all over again with the sports court. And trust me, I want to see a sports court. I want to see pickleball play. My family, we're basketball fans and we love to shoot hoops. So I want to see the sport court happen, but I also want to make sure that when we do spend the money and the energy to do that, it's in the right place. Hearing about the restrictions, that kind of made me went, huh? How come that wasn't addressed in the very beginning? I guess we didn't know about it, but to me, that was kind of a big con, to be able not to have a tournament, to be able not to have league play. That's kind of a big thing for me. So that's my comment on this particular project.
Yes. So I have sat through numerous hours of presentation by Michael Bruno, the project manager for the sports complex, and his team of volunteers, probably 10, 20 of them, contractors, engineers, and the passion they've poured into the project and everything. My question is, we have a proposal for community center upgrade, but what is it? How much is it going to cost? Is that $150,000 going to do anything? Or is it going to be another 2 years of talk, no action? So I personally, I don't know how it will turn out, the community, the sports complex, but I think we spend a lot of time, energy, and at this point to walk away. All these issues about the permitting and also capacity, these were discussed before, and some even said, it doesn't have to be reported or, and the location is not a no-go. Not any. But then, so all this time, $53,000 we spent on it, everything is going underwater. We are going on to something new and brighter. That's just my thought. Sorry.
So what I like to bring up right now is when this grant was granted in 2018, there was a lot of, well, at the time there was no project set aside for the grant. It was just a grant that we received. And at the time, it did seem like we did have a lot of community engagement. Pickleball was a fairly new sport, and there were people that really wanted, the pickleball court. And then we had families who have been, like Pauline's family has been waiting for years. I think our kids are grown now. We've been looking for a basketball court for quite some time. What was never asked with this grant is how can we utilize this grant to benefit the most people in the Cove? And we've had over, I want to say 10 plus years of deferred maintenance on the community evacuation center. And it's getting to the point where we need to address those issues. In this year's budget, we only had $1,000 for community center repairs, which we've already pretty much depleted with our mold tests. And so we're trying to figure out how to address these issues as quickly as possible. With that said, with the sports court, there was a lot of back and forth, and there were community members who were concerned about the location due to the wind, due to the sun, full sun, due to the location and restrictions, placing it so close to the airport. Now, the people who are saying that we can ignore the restrictions that are placed on this project are not sitting on the board. And all it takes is one person to get hurt. And then it is not only a district liability, but as a board member, it's the individual board member's liability as well. It was said, there was opinions voiced that well, it's grandfathered in due to the horseshoe courts and the bocce ball courts, so technically it's grandfathered in. However, with follow-up research, this sports court is being looked at as new development, and so that doesn't apply. And then the other aspect of that, I know we did receive some response, like just double checking as far as do they really mean no group activities or scheduled group activities? Is there a way to get around that? And the response was the FAA was very clear as to what we could do there. So let's hypothetically say we're having a pickleball tournament or a basketball tournament there. We will be breaking those rules. That's just the facts. We are now, in the past, the district and the community has operated on a level of, well, who's going to say anything? Just do it, get it done, and think about the consequences later. And more than likely, nobody is going to say anything. However, the community demographic is shifting, and we have more eyes on us now than ever before. And we have people who are watching how the district operates, how the community is operating, and from afar. And so it only takes, like I said, one, God forbid, an accident or anything like that, and the district could be in a lot of trouble. Quite frankly, we could be bankrupt with one lawsuit. So from my perspective, I think that, this is a project, the sports court project is a project that this general manager and the current board has inherited from past general managers and boards, that at the time that the decisions were being made, they didn't have the scope of work completely laid out. They didn't have the information as far as not only just projected costs on the construction, but also what it's going to be taking to maintain for the future. And that also in those public meetings was asked continually. We wanted to know, what is this going to cost the district? The community wanted to know, what is this going to cost the taxpayers in the long run? And we were never given that information, and we still don't have that information. On a plus side, the district did at the last RID board meeting, we did pass a grant scope policy. I don't know if I got the name right, but basically it sets out requirements that when we go for grants, we have certain requirements that the grant needs to meet before it's brought to the board for decision. And those requirements include not only the scope of work, but the maintenance costs, and volunteer, and including the different nonprofits that could be involved or not.
Timing, is a 3-minute rule applies to everybody or? Sorry.
Oh, no, you'll have your chance.
Okay.
The board can, or the committee can talk, yeah. The 3-minute is for the public. Yeah, yeah.
How long?
Yeah, so I'm almost finished. I'm just gonna,
I just want to respond.
yeah, perfect. And then the other, what I would like to get back to is, as far as the $53,000 that we have spent on plans that we're not using, that is a shame, and but because they are a good set of plans, there's a lot of engineering that goes in that location that it was that the board agreed to put it. It's pretty much a wetlands down there, and so there's a lot of mitigation that has to be done, and so that's why the original plans that we paid for were pretty detailed. I have a lot of respect for the people who have put a lot of time and energy into this project. However, I would also add that they chose to do that because we were already on target, and we really were just trying to figure out how we could bring the costs down of the project. We aren't going to know the full price until the RFPs go out and we get those returned. So I'm still not sure that with the Mike Bruno and the people who have been working on this outside of the original plans that we paid for, I'm not sure that those numbers that we have actually brought down the cost of this project yet. So those are my concerns, is that we're still looking. Also, the $110,000 that the previous board allocated, they did that without the money being in the budget and without the money being available, and we're still in that at that point.
So the couple of things you mentioned about if we get the sports complex up and running, there is a risk factor that's applicable to the playground here. If I come play with my kids, there is an injury, I could hypothetically sue the RID. Pretty much every public area here has a risk factor, and that's why we have insurance and coverages and all of that kind of stuff. Second point you mentioned about so the community clubhouse itself is, with the new airport land use policy, you cannot have more than 10 people at the same time based on the policy, because it's on zone 2 or zone 1 or something like that. So we keep saying grandfathered in. Community clubhouse is illegal to conduct large activities.
With the community clubhouse, that is actually grandfathered in, and it's not new construction. This sports court has been labeled has new construction. Yes, I do. Have you done other research that? Okay. So, and that's what they're saying right now.
Well, it never allows it based on the airport land use new policy. Like we have 64 people maximum limit and things. That's all hypothetical. They could shut us down, like you mentioned. There are more eyes on us. All the points you made are applicable to the community clubhouse too.
I thought because we added the word evacuation center that it kind of changes the definition of that building.
Well, evacuation center is not for the grant approved for.
Well, I think that obviously needs some research.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
that's,
do, I agree with him.
if that's an accurate fact or statement, depending on when the community center was built and when the grandfather clause was put in. I think that's something that we have to look into as a board, and I think maybe Chris and Jessica can help us out with getting that fact. I see what you're saying about the suing. Totally agree. It could happen anywhere. But if you're breaking FAA regulation, do you think insurance is going to cover it?
Community clubhouse is not covered either.
Well, we don't know that, right?
So
That's what we have to wait on,
Right.
right? Because like we have been told that the sports court is not grandfathered in because that is new construction. So the grandfather clause would work for a physical building versus an outdoor sports court, because what we have now is a horseshoe pit, right? So it's not, we're not just redoing that horseshoe pit, we are doing something entirely different, which now gets rid of that grandfather clause and makes it new build, new construction. And that's, I think, Tesha's concern, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also my concern, is that if we do illegal play there and something happens, that Grid is liable, the board members are liable, and that's not good for our community. And is it worth that risk when we could just move it somewhere else?
Well, right now, they do the pickleball championship over there on the street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is a illegal at part two.
True, but it's not
Yeah.
real property.
Correct. So we could still have sports complex and people play there. The original purpose. If they want to do tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
go to the place.
Right, but I think the whole point of this was to have it so we don't have to go there anymore, right? Because there are so many issues with that location, which is why they want it moved. So I'm just saying, I think the right way isn't always the easy way, and I know this is really disappointing for a lot of the people that put a lot of time and energy into it. And I hope they continue to put time and energy into it, even if we do recommend for it to be changed locations, because we want what's best, right? We want what's best for the community, what's best for the grant, and what's the best use of money. And I think the sports court is definitely worth it, but I think there's also a gazillion other grants we can apply for and have it in the location where it should be, as opposed to somewhere where we're getting put at a lot of risk.
Okay, my last thought about this is maybe we should get community survey input about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the grant was already discussed, presented, and then ultimately already board is there.
Absolutely. 100%. Yep, we're just here to make recommendations.
And also, we're here to be transparent. It was never the fact that, you know, we're just finding out that the scope of work could have been changed. We were always told that it was locked in to the sports court and there was no other options. And so we're just being transparent that to the community that there are alternatives. And whether or not the board moves forward with that, that's, you know, definitely up to the RID board. You know, I think, of course, on both for the sports court and for the community center, we do have some more research and development that needs to be done on, like you said, what is that 177,000 potentially if we decide to get reimbursed for the plans that we paid for that we're not using anyway. Or if we were just to take that 177,000 and put it into the existing community evacuation center as it is now, how much would that 177,000 get us? What would it get done? That's all research that we do. The committee does still need to do. We're going to be meeting with Chris, you're going to be meeting with the architect tomorrow, correct? I think. And I know the subcommittee will also be there. And I think maybe one or two board members will be there. This is just the preliminary. This was going to be done anyway. Even if we keep the sports court where it's at, this was already going to be happening. But basically, that 177,000 could potentially go a long way towards addressing safety concerns, the leaks in the roof, the leak on the south wall, the mold mitigation, and also ventilation throughout. That's one of the bigger issues on the community center is lack of proper ventilation, both within the storage areas down below. And so we'll have more information at the next couple RD board meetings and the next couple of committee meetings. We'll have more information to go off of before we can actually make a recommendation, is my feeling. And so that is one of the questions to the architect tomorrow is going to be like, okay, so just like, I mean, eventually everything's gonna have to go for an RFP, out to an RFP, just like the sports court is. And that, but he can give us like in his reports, like what it could potentially be costing us as a whole.
Chris mentioned that we are going to bid on this. So what does our decision has to do with the bid? Is that prohibits it from there, or?
I can put the notice inviting bids out, and it's in the written in the notice that we can deny all bids if we change our minds.
Thank you.
Not just on if we change the project scope, but if the cost becomes too high, prohibitive.
And that's still something that will be very helpful, I think, to both the board and the committee and the community, that once we have those RFPs back for the sports court, we'll know how much the grant will cover of the sports court, and then how much potentially the community, the funds that are going to have to be raised to actually complete that project as well. And so I think it's, I think it's in the best interest of the community that we're looking at all of the options right now before we break ground. And that's what this discussion's about now. It's not about making a decision. It's just about being transparent and making sure everybody knows what the options are moving forward. And as a board member and the district, our job is to make sure that our financial decisions, and especially when going for grants, and that taxpayer money that we spend is being used to benefit the most people possible. And so that's where we're at right now, is just what is going to benefit everybody, the most people as a whole, in my view.
What I also want to say too, that is one part of it. My other part of that is that there are urgent issues with the community center that unfortunately are just because deferred maintenance for, like you said, 10, 15 years. And now we're at a point where it's going to get really bad, or it's going to become a safety issue if we don't take care of it. And unfortunately, we don't have anything, like Tasha said, there's $1,000 in the budget that's already going towards mold mitigation. So that's one of the big reasons why I really want to do a little bit more research and development and look into this a little bit more by transferring the grant to the Community Evacuation Center, because it's urgent. The sports court isn't urgent. We have time to do things exactly the way that we want and make everyone happy. The community center is, it's now becoming an urgent issue.
Like all the polling stations just mentioned, the South Wall mold, and all of those things gonna take way more than $177,000.
We'll see. That's why we're here, and that's why we're going to meet with the architect, and he's also a structural engineer. We're also doing that to also see if we can add on to the community center, what we can do with it, to explore that as well, to see what else it could be for the community. So we're going to be doing lots of things tomorrow, but this will be part of it. It's just kind of getting a general idea of the scope of work.
And we'll also be asking about the feasibility of doing things in phases, such as, for an example, with that south wall, if we were able to mitigate that, repair that, and then in the future go for other grant funds to actually expand on that side of the community evacuation center. $177,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but in my opinion, I think it could do quite a bit to the community center, considering that we really haven't had hardly any money going into the community center for maintenance. And that's part of the big problem that we have right now is finding those funds for that. Now there is, I will be, speaking of transparency, there is, there are certain, you can also look at people who are wanting a brand new community center, community evacuation center, which is, will probably be in our strategic plan in the long run, but we're talking about easily 15, 20 years down the road. And has been some public comments about, oh, just tear the current community evacuation center, there's just too much wrong, just tear it down, you'd be better off tearing it down. And I'm definitely not in that camp, because this is actually district infrastructure that eventually in the down the road, if we were to build another community center, could serve as district offices. And years ago, with our the original strategic plan or not the original, but it was like, I believe, I want to say in 2015, we had phases where we had it laid out where we were going to be moving, we were going to be building a new community center. And then when that was completed, we were going to be moving the district offices and personnel down to the current community evacuation center, and that would become district offices, and also be able to make it easier, a more central location, and also make it easier for staff to help with the golf course and make sure people are paying and things like that. And then this property here and this building would go to the fire department, because they're pretty much crammed in every nook and cranny right now. And so that is where, that was the long-term plan at that time. And I could see, we don't have our strategic plan upgraded right now, but we're working on the development of that. And I could see that very well being included in the strategic plan. And so in my opinion, we should definitely be doing what we can to take care of that building, because with, like you said, it is very expensive to build right now, new construction, and you're looking at anywhere $400 to $500 a square foot, and that's residential, not commercial. Yes. Yep.
Great. Pauline, do you have anything else? You're good? Okay, now we're going to officially open up to public comment.
Public comment?
My heart be still.
Nobody online?
No comments.
No opinions out there.
My goodness.
I find that hard to believe.
I know, I'm clutching my pearl.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I would just like to say that this is definitely up for future discussion, and I just think that we should do some more. I'd like to find out for sure about what you were saying about the community center and the FAA, and how that all plays out before you make any decisions. For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I would ask that, I'm hoping that the board will at least go and look at the alternate locations for themselves, and also the community members go out and check out the other alternate location that we have identified, and see what you think, and bring back what, your thoughts on that, I think would be helpful.
Okay, last chance. Going once, going twice, and gone. All right, so we're going to take a 10-minute recess because we still have quite a few things to go over for action items. So we're going to take 10, use the restrooms, get some food, get some lemonade, whatever you need, and we'll be back here then. That's 7:17. I can't load that.
I noticed that too. I'm like, yeah. One, because like sometimes I would hear it real loud and then other times I wouldn't hear it at all.
All right.
Okay,
The internet. Sure. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our action items. So the first thing on our agenda here is to approve the minutes of July 24th, 2025 at our regular Parks and Recreation Committee meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the July 24th, 2025. Oh, no, I mean, where am I? Oh, yeah, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. Minutes.
Roll call.
Colleen York,
I
Laura Ball. Aye. Amy Rogers,
Aye.
and Jessica Schuster.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, so the next thing on our action item is consider potential committee members. So at this time, we're going to open it up to the public if they want to put their hat in the ring. Please go up to the podium and tell us a little bit of why you think you would be good, and we'll put you on the consideration for the board next month.
All right, I wrote a little something because I get a little nervous speaking. So, I have lived here for 11 years. My husband has been here for over 30, and we both tell that there are some big changes happening in our community right now. I feel like now during that change is a time to make sure that families of the community are speaking up. That is why I'm here today, to offer my time to the community for the families. I have 2 daughters that I plan to raise here in the Cove, and I hope that one day they raise their families here in the Cove. And I know the choices that we make today is going to affect that dream that I have. I am also a homeowner here in the Cove, so as you can say, I'm invested in this community and its future. I'm not here for the short term, I'm here for the long term, and that's why I believe being a part of the RED Parks and Rec committee is something worth giving my time and energy to.
Lovely, thank you, Riley. All right, anyone else?
Right. What is your full name?
Riley Holland.
Riley Holland. Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Hello, I'm Leilani Powell, and I'm new to the Cove. Been here just since December. I'm a long-term social worker and fully utilize the Cove's fabulous trails and recreational facilities every single day, as much as I can. So I'm a full appreciator. So I don't have the history to bring, but I do like to contribute and be useful in ways that I can. And so I would offer assistance if it's needed. It looks like there's a couple of openings, and so I guess if it would seem appropriate, I would be glad to participate and be helpful. I do have history research, and like Jessica and I were just discussing spreadsheets and RFPs and all of the more administrative aspects of being part of a committee. So yeah, I would be glad to participate if you feel I can be useful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? You really summed it down here.
Yeah.
Chris, were you notified by anyone?
No.
Okay. I have been in contact with some of the SCARF representatives, so I believe they are going to be putting someone forward as well. And not to speak too soon, I believe it's going to be Denise Reed. Add to that list.
Great. And we are looking for four openings. 3 of them will be on the committee, and then 1 of them would be our alternate committee member if someone were to resign. So that's what we're looking for currently, and we have until the next RID board meeting. Do you know the date of that? Do you know, Jessica?
September 18th.
September 18th. Okay, so we have until then for you guys to apply, and all you need to do is email Chris, and just like these ladies did up here, just give a little background as to why you think you would be beneficial to the community and on the Parks and Rec Committee.
And then what else? I would, yeah, there'll be more advertisements going out for this, reminding people. And I do think there is a benefit for having people coming from the family side, having a very diverse committee. And then also with our research on how the district can operate with grants, and we're finding that what seems to be will be most beneficial for the district is when in regards to recreation, is having nonprofits, other nonprofits in the community go for grants, and then we help assist with either providing land or hookups or things like that, and but working together with other nonprofits. So I'm hoping that the other nonprofits in the community.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love to see a swimming pool. I know I right here. We were just talking about that. I'm passionate about having a swimming pool for the community, and that would be a great opportunity where a nonprofit and RID could participate, or could be something like a into the golf course or one of the hotels, pick a lot next to them, and then apply for the grant. Or,
Yeah, and this is a little off topic when we're talking about grant. Well, actually, I'll save that for when we're talking about the fundraising. But yes, you're right. So yeah, we do have you're kind of the representative for tourism and businesses. So yeah, hopefully we have more people responding. It's 3 seats and then 1 alternate seat.
Yep. All right, is there any public comment on this?
We had this has an action item for the committee to make recommendations to the board. However, I feel like there's so much time in between the next that we should give more time for people to put their names on there. So I'm asking that we just table it and get and make sure that they do have these names that were brought up today.
Wonderful. Okay, so moving on. Consider combining subcommittees. This action item is, well, Chris, do you want to take this or do you mind if I do? Okay, cool. So we're just going to do this temporarily until we fill our committee back up. We currently have 6 subcommittees. We're going to combine them to 4 until we get back up on our committee. So then we're still 3 people, because this is quite a tremendous amount of strategic planning.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's helpful that the more the merrier in this scenario, and 3 is definitely company. So what we're going to do until you fill the board or the committee, excuse me, is we're going to combine trails, beach access, parks, and then the golf course. 4th of July will still be its own standalone. We'll have the community evacuation center, and then we will combine fundraising and arts and ecotourism. And I'll leave this for the board to discuss, or the committee.
Any questions?
So, okay. From 6 to 4. Okay, no, I see it. I see it. Okay, yeah.
That's good. Does that work for everybody? Okay, great. And we'll leave this open to
because
public.
that still puts me into on 2.
Yeah.
And you probably have 2 also, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any public comment on this? Okay.
I'll just make a motion that we accept combining those subcommittees.
I'll second it, Tisha.
Amy Rajan,
I
Holly York,
Aye.
Mr. Bashane,
Aye.
Laura Ball. Aye.
Okay, so here we have.
We kind of did it backwards, but that's okay.
Okay. No.
Oh.
Okay. So the next thing that is on our action item is consider recommendation for modification of scope of work for sports court grant. This is essentially just based on our discussion from the sports court update earlier, bringing this to the board's attention at the next meeting and talking about our findings and what we're going to do next. I'll leave this up to the committee for discussion.
I think that we have a lot more information that we need to find out before we make the recommendation whether or not to change the scope.
Mainly the community center.
Mainly the community center,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
and just to
regulations.
make sure that that's accurate. And then also we'll have, for the next committee meeting, we'll have more information too in regards to the architect and depending on how that meeting goes with the architect. So I think we'll have a lot more information at the next couple meetings. So maybe table that if you guys are okay with that. Or if you have anything to add.
So yeah, so we were earlier when we discussed, we were completely characterizing sports club is completely illegal, whereas community clubhouse activities itself is illegal too, because of the. We talk about Cody Rogarts, the previous aviation director, gave verbal approval. No, it's not. It's that is zone 2 or zone 1. Zone 1 is the approach to the runway. It's zone 2. Zone 2 cannot have more than 10 people at the same time, depending on the structure. I own 2 lots on Lower Pacific. I tried all these before.
Right, right. I'm still, yeah, we're gonna follow up on that information to get clarity.
And even with the approval,
Because then that might mean we just have to close everything. I don't know.
only 64 people maximum, but I have seen more than 100 people
About
there.
84.
Can that airport ordinance be looked at again and be reversed? The new board, I mean, because
Yeah, that is, I don't know. Jessica, I know that at the time that they were forming all of those restrictions, there was 2 airports, I believe, in Humboldt County that were given the option of opting out of that, and we, under the advice of the former general manager, the board chose not to do that.
right.
So I'm not
So
sure.
can it be relooked at?
I think we've
would-
looked at it.
I would have to research for sure, but my guess would be that would be a decision that would be made by the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors. The one
Okay,
who-
so it would go to them versus the RID board. Okay.
Also, it is attached to a grant at the time. We get some grant associated. The county gets a grant if you were to in compliance with the FAA plan. That's how the county did it. The AL airport land use comparably plan. County did that because the county got some grants.
And that's why they agreed to do it.
Right. We were not quite exception like they were saying. Hoopa Airport because it's there is a tribal, but we were not an exception. Chaltaco was not.
Yeah, at the time, I mean, I know I was at those meetings. It was definitely brought to the board. I wasn't on the board, but the general manager did tell the board that we had that option. Now, if he was mistaken, then that could have been.
Every airport had the option, but everybody chose to do it. So because otherwise county won't get the grant.
Interesting.
They could use the reservation exemption.
So I think we would want to follow up on that information.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Also, there is no aviation director. The new guy quit or left after 1 month in the job.
Yeah, I mean, that's who authorized the sports court to begin with. This last guy. Okay, so we'll need to follow up on that.
Absolutely.
And get more current information on that. I know that unfortunately we don't qualify for a lot of the federal grants, so that's interesting. Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna keep doing more research and development, and then, and like you said, put it out to the community. When we have more numbers, more concrete and information, we just wanted to bring it out now because that is something that we're looking at.
Right. It's like in respect of all the people who put it enormous amount of time, and I've sat through a couple of those meetings, and I see the passion and the qualification of these people, and then the project. I know we all disagree on so many different levels, but it's worth considering. And luckily we got an extension for 2 more years for the deadline. That's an extension they fell into our lap.
More like a year and a couple months.
20,
It's December
27.
27th, 27.
So
We're
we'll
almost
have to-
December 25. Oh, so 26, 27.
2.5
2 years.
Yeah, so we're on schedule as far as being able to,
Well, once it breaks ground, it won't take long.
no, it shouldn't. It
Once
shouldn't.
break ground, it should go pretty fast. Yeah, just a matter of pouring.
Okay, so is there any public comment on this? Okay, so for now, we're just going to table this and do some more research and the grandfather clause, FAA, and lots of other things. And also, we'll meet with the architect and engineer, and that I think
Tomorrow.
will shed some light too on this as well. Okay. Okay, so the next thing on our list is our subcommittee report. Alrighty, so we're gonna start with trails, beach access, parks and trails. Do you want to do this one or do you want me to? Or Pauline, doesn't matter. Okay, I'll do it. All right, so parks, trails, and beach access. So this is Pauline, Kesha, and I. The first thing that we are looking at is parkettes. So this will be a unified naming theme. We propose naming all parkettes with nature-inspired names that reflect Shelter Cove's landscape and flora, creating a cohesive identity for signage, maps, and tourism materials. So Fern Hollow Park or Puma Park, we haven't decided on name yet, but it's a wooded setting, creek access, shaded seating, and native planting. And this is on Puma Road in the zoo. Cedar Grove Park, this is on Cedar Wood and Telegraph Creek. It's a creekside loop trail with interpretive signs on local trees and wildlife. Cannon Creek Park, end of Canyon Court, public creek access with a small rest area and educational signage. The second thing is nature trail enhancements. So update the flora and fauna interpretive signs along with the existing nature trail. Partner with schools and local conservation groups for engaging educational displays. 3 is a walking trail plan. Our objective here is to create a safe designated walking trail around the golf to deter pedestrians from entering restricted or unsafe areas. Map and route selection and coordination with written FAA safety requirements. Include resting point shade and interpretive stops. 4, sidewalk development. Lower Pacific Drive, priority area for sidewalk installation to improve safety. Upper Pacific Drive, explore feasibility and potential phasing. All sidewalks to be ADA compliant with coastal design elements. 5, coordination with BLM. Increase liaison efforts, build a stronger working relationship with the Bureau of Land Management to coordinate upgrades and improvements to BLM managed public access areas in Shelter Cove. Potential focus areas include trailhead improvements, updated signage for safety and interpretation, erosion control and habitat preservation measures, accessibility upgrades for high-use BLM sites. So we're going to start with the next step. So approve final parkette names and begin signage design. Develop improvement plans for each parkette. Draft cost estimates for trail routing and sidewalk projects. Schedule coordination meeting with BLM staff to review access improvement priorities. Begin grant and partnership outreach for funding support. We also put together a BLM partnership action plan. The purpose of this would be to strengthen collaboration between RID and the Bureau of Land Management in order to enhance public access, safety, and environmental stewardship in BLM managed areas within and around Shelter Cove. So our partnership goals would be to provide improve visitor safety and accessibility on high-use BLM access points, protect and enhance sensitive habitats while providing recreational opportunities, develop consistent, unified signing and branding for public access areas, and coordinate grant applications and funding opportunities for shared projects. 2 would be priority sites for collaboration, so trailheads and access points. Upgrade additional informational kiosks with updated maps, regulations, and QR codes for real-time info. Add wayfinding signs along key routes. Beach and coastal access. Improve paths, stairs, and ramps for safety and ADA compliance. Install erosion control measures in high-impact areas. Interpretive and educational signage. Explain flora, fauna, and cultural history signs along BLM trails. Highlight leave no trace principles and tide safety information. Parking and visitor flow. Regrade and clearly mark parking areas as high traffic BLM sites. Add bike tracks and or trash recycling stations. Habitat preservation and restoration. collaborate on native plant restoration in degraded areas, coordinate volunteer days for invasive species removal. Potential joint projects, a BLM Rig Nature Trail expansion, link existing community trails to BLM managed trails with consistent signage and mapping, coastal overlook upgrades, install safe viewing areas with seating, interpretive panels, and binocular stations. Ecotourism integration, promote guided walks, tide pool tours, and wildlife viewing in collaboration with nonprofits. Engage in liaison process, quarterly coordination meetings between RID Parks Committee and BLM field office representatives. Shared project tracking, maintain a joint list of active and proposed projects with timelines. Grant collaboration, identify federal, state, and private grant programs for joint applications and increase funding potential. Our next step with BLM would be to schedule initial coordination meeting with BLM to present this plan. 2, identify immediate safety or access issues for quick action. 3, develop a 2-year project list with timelines and budget ranges. 4, assign RID committee liaison to maintain regular contact with the BLM staff.
And I can add for that, there are RID board members who are already assigned to be doing liaisoning with BLM, and it's Jeff Hildreth and Wes Bonheim. So I look forward to bringing this to their attention. This is just a preliminary places that we've identified for potential future use as far as with the parkettes. Right now, so far we've only really looked at the lower Cove. I think for the next meeting or maybe the October meeting, we'll have made visited sites up in the upper Cove to make sure that residents and tourists alike have access to the beauty up there as well. And I know that is something that residents of the upper Toth area, Hemlock, all those areas, they've been requesting parks up in that area as well. So we'll be doing some field trips and identifying potential locations, as well as one thing that I would like to do is map out all of the cul-de-sacs, and this is a big one, map out cul-de-sacs and identify cul-de-sacs that are not being used and may be surrounded by potentially unbuildable lots, and see about working with the county about how we could either incorporate those back into our green belts so that we can actually do something with those cul-de-sacs, maybe like a basketball court or like just on the asphalt, things like that. That would make those spaces that are currently are unusable would make them usable. It would. The downside, the con of that is it does take them off of the tax roll, but you know it might outweigh the benefits. Exactly, if they're going to default anyway, then they're not receiving any taxes. So I think that's a discussion that we can also have with the county. But this is just a preliminary. It's not the full list of parkettes that we've identified, just what we've identified thus far.
It's just a start to the strategic plan.
Yeah, and definitely getting community input on like names and stuff like that. Yeah. But these are some ideas. Mm-hmm. Have anything to add?
Does anybody on the committee have any comments about this report that they want to share? No? Any public comment? Okay. So we'll go on to the next one, which is 4th of July. Can you read that one?
Sure. Okay.
I'll use a little break.
Yes. Well, you have such a great voice, though.
Thank you.
Okay, so this was Simi, myself, and Laura met for the 4th of July celebration that the committee has been tasked with from the board to, although this wasn't a part of our big strategic plan, it's now becoming a part of it. So we were tasked to kind of do some research and development on helping provide some events that help shift the culture of the 4th of July from doing tons of fireworks and kind of the lawlessness that has traditionally come out to the Cove during that time, and have it more in a channel all of that energy into something more legal and safe and sane for the whole community. So The event overall is, the goal is to create a whole community celebration that blends tradition, fun, and innovation, engaging residents, visitors, local businesses, and nonprofits. The vision is that we discussed is a fair carnival style festival with activities for all ages, anchored by a signature evening show, fireworks or drones, or maybe a hybrid. Possible festival, and then coming up with the names. Possible festival names, you can see there, Shelter Cove Stars and Stripes Festival, Coastal Freedom Fest, Red, White, and Blue by the Sea, Cove Carnival Independence Celebration, Fireworks on the Frontier, and Harbor Lights Festival. These are all just ideas. Event and elements and activities, carnival, fair games, and like fair type games, ring toss, dunk tanks. Maybe we can dunk tank our RID board.
Or general manager.
Or general manager, but not the secretary. Sack races, mini golf, having mini golf contests, games, balloon animals, face painting, maybe a fire show. Live music performances, reaching out to local bands, school groups, and community acts. Parade and enhance the parade and decorative bike rides involving residents, businesses, and nonprofits. Creating a safe kids zone with bouncy houses, crafts, scavenger hunts, etc. Community competitions, maybe a pie eating contest, cornhole tournaments, maybe even a sand castle contest. And then also bringing in vendor and nonprofit booths, local artisans, crafters, and organizations. Perhaps coordinating food trucks and pop-up kitchens powered by the hopefully commercial kitchen in the community evacuation center to support vendors and local food entrepreneurs. Bringing in local schools, having student performances, art displays, and volunteer participation. Also working with nonprofits with fundraising booths, games, and raffle tables. Bringing in vendors to prioritize Shelter Cove and nearby community businesses for booths and food sales. Number 5, in regards to the fireworks and drone show options. Now, we put 6-hour programming because especially this last year, we had 6 hours of fireworks that someone donated. Now, so then we just did some research on like what that would cost if we had to actually pay for that. The traditional fireworks is for a total cost is $90,000 to $150,000, so roughly $15,000 to $25,000 an hour. The benefits are classic. They're the highly visible, continuous excitement. Very cost, but the considerations are it's a very high cost, fire risk, debris, smoke, and strict permits usually are required. And then we looked at drone light shows. 120,000 to 180,000 was the guesstimates there. Cost per hour, 20,000 to 30,000. The benefits are eco-friendly, customizable, low fire risk, and quiet for wildlife, which I like that. The considerations are they're expensive, battery swap downtime, and they are weather dependent. So if we had a foggy with wind and fog, if that was the weather, we would be in trouble. And then you look at the hybrid of fireworks and drones alternating, and then it's 150,000 to 200,000, so 25,000 to 33,000 an hour. Combines tradition and innovation, visually diverse, most expensive, complex, and it is complex coordination, and dual permits are required. So those are obviously a lot of money. Number 6, certification for fireworks operation. To operate legal public fireworks displays, at least one certified pyrotechnic operator is required. So the options include these are the courses: fireworks FX course, and that's about $99 for a 4-hour training. PG&I display operator certificate. I can't.
Certification.
Thank you.
Gotcha,
I'm
girl.
getting all tongue-tied here. $99 plus a $25 registration, a full-day class, and live fire training. And then you have the state operator license, typically $40 to $110 plus renewal, subject to California fire marshal regulations. Recommendation is to certify at least one RID affiliated volunteer to reduce reliance on outside contractors and maintain compliance. Number 7, next steps to do this would be select festival name and branding, finalize budget, and choose show type, whether it's fireworks, drones, or hybrid.
Or the certification.
And the certification, yeah. Begin vendor and performer and partner outreach. Enroll volunteers into the certification program. Apply for all required permits and insurance, and launch public promotion with scheduled activities. So,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
So, what do you guys think? Do you have any comments as the committee before we take it to public comment?
So just to add a comment, I thought it would be less expensive,
So did we,
right?
yeah,
Especially the drone show, I thought maybe 30,
Yeah.
40 grand.
especially our location, just getting people out here is super crazy. And then the more we looked into it, it was kind of like, oh God, what if we have fog, right? And then we already spend all this money. That's going to be a huge disappointment. Something we really
You mentioned we got some donation money. How does that actually work?
donation of fireworks.
It was a donation. It was actually a private community member who provided all the fireworks and did the actual fireworks. And so that wasn't, as far as I know, was not sanctioned. And so what would be and so what we're trying to do now is move the culture more into a sanctioned event, move this culture into a more sanctioned type event. And so one of the ideas that we had was maybe reaching out to the people who are already doing these fireworks, and then seeing like, well, maybe partnering with them and seeing like, let's get them certified. So then they're actually, everything's legal. And then also, you'll notice we have 6 hours on here, right? That's a lot.
Bambo does 45 minutes.
Yeah. And so we could, yeah, but out in the Cove, it's just been a free for all for so many years. And definitely, yeah, somebody dropped a lot of money on fireworks. We don't know exactly who or how much, but we know it was a lot. And so, I would like to reach out to them and say, hey, we need to start bringing this event into compliance with state regulations and then with fire danger. Would you be interested in maybe getting certified? Maybe that's something the district could sponsor, and maybe we could shorten them out. And then that would also change these quotes if it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
So that's, that would be my recommendation, is that we reach out to these people and see if they're interested into coming into compliance and working with the district to provide a beautiful show, which they did. I didn't see it myself, but I heard that it was a really spectacular show and fairly safe this year. But it is important that we begin to do things in a legal process.
I believe our fire chief wants to move us more.
Yeah. Nick has requested that we start working on this. What it is going to require is that we do a lot of liaisoning with the nonprofits and businesses to help raise funds, because definitely the district, this is typically something that I believe is more of a tourism, falls under tourism, and that's not something that the district really is, that we're supposed to be funding, but we can help, provide location. We're already providing our fire department. And so doing that type of research and development on who would like to be a part of this would be one of the next steps too.
Absolutely.
I wanted to add to that. We did get that quote from Open Sky Drone Light Shows a while back, and they proposed a 10 to 13 minute show. Depending on the number of drones, either 150 or 350 drones, it would be between 35,000 and 70,000.
Right?
For how long?
Wow.
10 to 13 minutes.
10 to 13 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think that would keep the
No,
locals and the tourists.
no. I think we can safely say with our R&D that drones are out at this point.
Yeah.
Because of, the weather, and I mean, there's just too much risk associated with it. And expense. Yeah, yeah. So I think we just need to move forward with like a safe, sane way to do fireworks and get someone certified or several someones who do want to do this every year. And eventually, even that type of person is going to fiddle out with the economy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you go and spend,
That much.
that kind of money. Yeah. Exactly. You got it.
But we have been tasked to help begin
Yes.
formulating an alternate event.
I really like the fair idea, carnival idea,
We were thinking that the different schools could sponsor different booths, like different games and things like that, and raise money for their schools. And so it would be a great opportunity for businesses to give back to the Cove as well if they wanted to pitch in, and then nonprofits as well for helping it all come to fruition. So this is basically going to take a lot of liaisoning to all the nonprofits and businesses, and maybe even the Humboldt Tourism Association. Is that what they're called?
There's also HLA, Humboldt Lodging Alliance.
Would you be interested in helping, maybe either you and or whoever, one of us? Yeah, maybe meeting with them and letting them know what we're looking at. Oh, wow, he's still on there.
He's moving back. Okay, is there any public comment? No? Okay, we're gonna move through these last reports quickly because I know it's late and you guys are all hungry, so, including myself. So, committee report, golf course. So, this is, right now, because we're combining everything being a small committee until we have new members, this is Pauline, Kesha, and I. So leasing agreements and MOUs. Currently researching the possibility of lease agreements or memorandums of understanding MOUs to formalize certain operational partnerships or shared use agreements. Further discussion and review of legal requirements will be needed before any formal proposal is made. A vending machine upgrade. So instead of the kiosk, maybe using a vending machine to pay for the holes, golf balls, tees, renting clubs with a digital locker. Maybe we can do this at the community center. These are ideas we're all kind of toying with. So exploring options of upgrading the current vending machine to improve offerings and reliability. Identifying a new location on site that is convenient for both golfers and other recreational users. Actively seeking bids for vending machine services. At present, only one has been identified as available, and I'm still waiting for his call back. Possible disc golf location. Investigating a potential disc golf course to expand recreational opportunities and draw additional visitors. Location analysis will consider parking, safety, and impact on existing course play. Hole 1 relocation. Consider moving hole 1 in the future to accommodate expansion of recreational activities. Ensure course layout avoids crossing private property, which it does now. This change will require course redesign input and community feedback before implementation. Our next steps with the golf course subcommittee are to continue gathering lease MOU samples from comparable public golf facilities, get final vending machine bid, well, it's not going to be bids anymore, it's everyone bid, and determine ideal placement, develop preliminary disc golf location map and feasibility assessment, begin early planning for hole 1 relocation, including cost and design implications. And I'll leave this up to the committee to make any comment before we go public. Comment?
Any public comment on the golf course? Oh, yes.
On the maintenance on the golf course, I noticed that, some years it's better than other years, and I'm sure the weather has a lot to do with that as well too. But I've heard from my family and some other golfers around that, gee, if it was just the holes, or just a little greener, or cut a little bit better, wow, wouldn't that be nice and more attractive?
Right, right.
And we are working on that.
Yeah, we are working on that.
Mhm.
Do you
We
have any-
agree.
Yeah, we agree. Do you have anything to add to that, Chris, or as far as how that?
Yeah, well, the irrigation is an issue. We used to irrigate with with tertiary treated reclaimed wastewater from the wastewater treatment plant, but we haven't done that probably since 2022. Water board's regulations became a little bit too stringent for our staff at the time, so we fell back a little bit, but we're regrouping right now, and when it comes time to renew our permit, we're gonna fight to ease some of those regulations around that.
Mm-hmm. Great news.
I don't play disc golf, but I did mention it to one of my friends that I had heard that they were doing that in the Cove. They're from Edwardsburg, and they were super stoked and were like, we would totally be willing to pay to come play disc golf in the Cove. So
Yeah.
positive feedback.
There is the buzzard disc, and I think they charge $5 to
Yeah,
play.
she's like, I'll pay $5, $10
Yeah.
to play with them.
And I think he posted on Facebook, and I think he's having another event coming up, like real soon. Mm-hmm.
For the purpose of this committee, we're looking at seeing how the district can incorporate that onto our, like, either trails or something like that. I had wanted to see, I still kind of want to see the golf course being a multi-course, but I do think that there are some drawbacks to that as well. So we're still doing research on that.
Yeah, well, disc golf is very loud when it hits the basket, and it's kind of just like a loud kind of, group activity. What Pauline and I were discussing too was usually we have encountered disc golf being in a wooded area, where there's shade and kind of some hilly areas and kind of tucked away so that noise isn't an issue either, and you're kind of in nature when you're playing. It makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more challenging.
I've been to some disc courses where it's actually integrated with hiking trails. So there are hikers and disc golfers.
So we're going to look at trails, and we're also going to look at some ridge property and see what we can find that might be a good fit for that.
We do have lots of hills
Yes, we do.
and wooded areas. So.
We are not lacking on this. Anything else? Go ahead. Okay, next one. So the committee report, community/evacuation center. So the first thing we encountered was ice machine maintenance. So we've realized that this hasn't been getting regular cleaning, so we need to require regular cleaning every time this is shut off. Our recommendation is to keep the machine running continuously to avoid unnecessary buildup and cleaning requirements. In cases of power outages or scheduled cleaning, ensure a full cleanout before restarting. Kitchen upgrades, commercial standard. Install a commercial dishwasher, refrigerator, and chest freezer to support community events, food safety, and emergency use. Painting and spackling, refresh walls and address any damage. Flooring upgrade, replace with commercial grade linoleum or tile with toe kicks to easier cleaning and bathroom improvements. Install new soap dispensers, replace urinal because it doesn't work, and side guards for hygiene and privacy for all of our sinks in that bathroom. Replace all toilet seats. Install new closet doors or durable curtains for storage areas. Purchase a steam mop for more effective cleaning and sanitization. ADA and entryway compliance. Ensure ADA ramp meets code. South side entryway. Retile and finish with proper transition strips. Bring deck access and exits to ADA standards. Install lights along ramps for safety and accessibility during events. Acoustic and lighting improvements. Add acoustical ceiling panels to improve sound quality. Compare best price per square foot with bonus consideration for eco-friendly materials. So we did a little bit of research on this, and the best option based on priorities is budget conscious. Standard tiles for the ceiling are between 97 cents to $13.09 per square foot, depending on the eco features, like if it's a recycled wool or a stone wool. So there are a couple that I found that are very sustainable and high acoustic, and one of our goals that we did discuss is also potentially in the future getting to the point where the community and evacuation center is LEED certified, making it eco-friendly. Yeah, and so LEED certified essentially means that you have so many eco-friendly or green improvements to a space where there's a percentage, I can't remember the exact percentage, but there's a percentage of the building that is eco-friendly or recycled. So we also have felt panels, we have wood wool panels. So those are all of the eco, and then there's a high performance black finish silent ceiling black eco. I have emails out to all of these companies to get more information on how much per square foot for what material. But we're looking at between 97 cents and 13 cents a square foot. Install volunteer painted finishes coordinated by Cove Connect for an updated interior work. We've done this before, where we go and spackle the walls and give it a fresh paint. We'd be happy to do that again. Digital signage, install a digital information sign at the community/evacuation center. Features to include emergency alerts, tide and weather, upcoming events, and community notices. Lower level building assessment, meeting schedule, where you have that meeting scheduled with the engineer, August 29th, tomorrow at noon. Purpose is to examine what can be done with the lower half of the building and assess any potential expansion. The next meeting, we will present engineering findings and potential project scope changes. Okay, is there anything from the committee that you want to address on here? No? All good?
Yeah.
Anything from public?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about windows.
Yeah.
So
Window
because,
coverings?
Windows don't have anything on them
Window
really.
coverings.
But how easy would it be to put some type of roll down shade on there?
I agree, it's still hot.
Right, that you can still see through pretty much, kind of filter, but it really helps the heat immensely. And I bet you can find people in the community say, I was want to window number one.
I heard people talking about it at yoga, talking about how they would sew.
That's a
some
great
stuff.
idea.
Yeah.
The sewing, is already working on that.
Yeah, I heard them.
But that means closing it off too, whereas you just have something that was, the sun would not, would be valuable, sun would be valuable by it, and help the heat, and you lower it and just go so far down or whatever. Might look into that.
An awning could be good. Block that sun that's coming in through those windows.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something for us to look at.
And I'm also curious about the name. I'm sorry that I don't know more history about the evacuation center being tagged on to the name. And I'm sure it was discussed as part of the, the community view. But obviously, in the long run, years and years ago, there was a restaurant and a bar. And then it became evolved into the clubhouse, and that's what it's kind of called. And the word evacuation center sounds so, I don't know, there's just something about it. So I'm wondering, is there a way that you can call the clubhouse a community and evacuation center? Like, like ... like a tagline on it, but it's known mostly as the clubhouse or something. And then say that as the tagline, because right now, every time you say it, community evacuation center, community evacuation center, community evacuation center, seems so daunting.
It's daunting.
It is, and the reason why we say that is because we want to make sure that we're expressing it's also an evacuation center for grant and for additional funding.
Yeah, it opens us up for other emergency response type grants, and this is our evacuation spot for the fire hall station is evacuation for tsunamis, and then that down there is our only evacuation for fire. And so just trying to, before we were not including that into the name and into the discussions, and so it was getting lost. And so this is actually probably the first meeting that we've been making sure that we are saying it, because we've heard from the fire chief that we need to start making sure that it's referred to that, so that it does get out to the public that that's what it is, and then also to help with other grants as well, that we can piggyback onto.
It should be part of it, maybe not the number one thing, or maybe
a good name for that space is needed. But if we are calling it the clubhouse, that doesn't get a lot of grant opportunities.
Well, no, it would be like the clubhouse, a community and evacuation center. But so when you refer to it,
That's the tagline.
Right, you just refer to it as the clubhouse, but there would still be part of the name. It would still be the whole name.
It's a few more words, so I think I can do it.
Or with not the clubhouse.
Yeah.
But something along with it, so that way it doesn't, And I can see why grants and things like that.
Yeah.
It's quite calling it recreation, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's great input. We'll definitely
Yeah.
talk about that at our next subcommittee meeting. Absolutely. Okay, any more public comment? All right, moving on. Last but not least, arts and ecotourism also combined it with fundraising. So the first one is Scarf Grant for public art and beautification. Murals and artists wraps for water towers and utility boxes. Upgrade the Welcome to Shelter Cove sign with art elements and durable materials. Install a digital sign of the community / evacuation center for tides, weather events, and emergency alerts. 2, sculpture submission program. We have a couple options: coastal sculpture showcase, art along the trails, Shelter Cove sculpture walk. Artists pay an entry fee of $50 to $150 for sculptural proposals. Winning sculptures displayed along local nature trails, promoted through RID, SCARF, and tourism outlets. Artists invited to future projects. 3, trails and outdoor enhancement. Replace flora, fauna, wildlife, and history plaques. Install binocular stations at Little Black Sands, Blowhole, Lighthouse, Coral Point. Little Black Sands safety improvements. Improve parking lot layout and access. Upgrade trail servicing and accessibility. Install or replace concrete barriers for safety and erosion control. 4, eco and wildlife tourism partnerships. Develop bird and whale watching tours with local captains. Partner with Friends of the Lost Coast and Sanctuary Forest for eco education tours. Allocate proceeds towards purple urchin removal and Waikiki tribe marine efforts. Eco badge program for lodging. Certify sustainable Airbnbs / rentals. Funds used for ecotourism marketing or Highway 101 signage upgrades. 6, beautification and native plant restoration. Plant native species around golf course. Coordinate with conservation partners to protect beneficial native flora. Seasonal arts and food events. We thought about doing a mushroom and seaweed pop-up. Some name ideas: Forest to Foam Fest, Seed and Soil Harvest, Kelp and Cap Festival. Combine foraging, cooking demonstrations, and tasting foods with local chefs. Incorporate food forest ingredients. Feature produce, herbs, and edible plants grown in the food forest to highlight local sustainability and farm-to-table practices. Promote these events as both a culinary and educational experience, drawing visitors interested in regenerative agriculture and ecotourism. An eco passport program. Visitors collect stamps at eco sites and businesses. Prizes, reusable water bottles, eco totes, guided nature experience vouchers. A statewide tourism coordination. Collaborate with Visit California as an ecotourism leader. Food forest initiative. This is our mini plan. Public food growing space with fruit trees, perennial vegetables, and edible native plants. Supports the pantry, community education, and ecotourism. Identify land and partner with local gardeners and permaculture groups. Last but not least, our last idea was a gate and toll booth research. So explore feasibility at Kings Peak or other locations. Portion of revenue directed to Parks and Rec and RAD projects. Let the committee go first.
Yes, we talked about a swimming pool and potentially using a saltwater swimming pool, and we also kind of discussed that RID, or we requested RID or proposed the board that RID could probably waive something like a connection fee or hookup fee for a swimming pool project, and potentially if there is land, RID can give, or it has to be a nonprofit partnership or a business partnership probably for the operation purpose. If you could add that to the report, I'd be happy.
Okay, so what are we?
We would,
Adding is just
yes, that would be with the,
if someone would
that would go with,
if a business would spearhead this, then we would donate land and
or a nonprofit.
yeah,
It would have to be a nonprofit. And so I think what we also discussed, Simi, is that, and even with some of these, we can add this, I think we could add that in on here. And then that would give, but the responsibility is going to be on whatever nonprofit to help facilitate that. And then it will have to be approved by the board. So we can add that in. And I would also want to just add, like, a lot of, especially with the ecotourism, arts and ecotourism, that isn't the district's, obviously, our purview that we're supposed to be spending money on, or, but we do recognize that our community is changing over to ecotourism. We are the last untouched wilderness area on the West Coast. And so this is a lot of liaisoning with the nonprofits. So even though we're including this into what we'd like to, how we'd like to see the strategic plan go, it doesn't mean that this is what the district is going to be accomplishing. This is going to take in order to accomplish all these things, it's going to take the community and other nonprofits working with us and spearheading this, because we don't have district staff doesn't have the time to research all of this and then bringing it to the board who ultimately has the decision. But we'll put that swimming pool in there.
Okay, any public comment?
I am just so in support of a food forest. I'm doing that on my own land. And so, yeah, I will help out in any way. I have like 6 years of research and development and of all that. And, I can help with seed banks and farming and making ways that will save money. We've gone growth in the economy as well. And so finding out how to create a food forest on a budget has been what I've really been focusing on the past like 3 years and creating it out of our land. And so, yeah, that's something I'll definitely be open to pushing through.
We'd love to hear that.
Yes, we do. We need all the help we can get.
Thank you.
First of all, I should introduce myself if you don't know me. I'm Brenda McLaughlin, and I'm the historian for the Lighthouse. And my dad was the lighthouse keeper. I'm on Watchy Road here, about half the year. Sometimes more. Depends on how hot it is where I'm at and how far it is.
Right.
So anyway, we've been here since my first time was in the 60s. I come in Chilton, I've been here ever since. Pretty much back and forth. And about the lighthouse, that's one of the largest tourism things I would say in Chilton Cove. People talk about it. It's also the logo that's used on a lot of other businesses and nonprofits, I think, which is nice. But of course, the lighthouse doesn't get any benefit from that, except that it's kind of promoting it. But it's on BLM land, and you know that is such a lovely, huge area there. What a nice coordinated effort that would be to enhance it, and not have to worry about twisting your ankle on the holes and worrying about things like that. But boy, that is just right for being enhanced instead of just being mowed. And that's it. There's what 2 tables on it. And that's it. How lovely that would be. And I think the lighthouse is obviously appreciated very much. And it's really nice when they do come in, and folks do come in and do the volunteer work with the plants and taking out leaving the native plants and taking out the non-native. But boy, wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yeah, that's a
really that would be an
idea for us to consider.
And that can be a part of our BLM.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
coordination.
part of our strategy.
Okay.
Strategy part. And it would be awesome. I think you'd have a lot of people that really not only use it, but really love to see that.
Yeah, and support it too. I love that idea.
We are going to be reaching out to BLM as far as helping, hopefully getting a safer passage trail down down those stairs. Yeah, because it's not safe at the moment, but we're using it. Okay.
And unfortunately, what's happening right now. But there are things.
Yeah. Well, we can also, there are fundraising opportunities and other things that we can look at as well.
As long as they would allow it.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely gonna be part of our liaisonship. Yeah.
There is a precedent. I mean, one of the bigger events of the year is the Sunday, right?
Right.
Taste of the Cove.
Yeah.
So they're amenable to doing things.
Yeah, right. They sure are.
Yeah.
And it is such a huge what a shining star.
Absolutely.
People see when they drive down.
Well, it does look
That
great
lighthouse
repainted.
and that
Yeah.
Which is all volunteer.
Yeah. It does look really good. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a really awesome idea. Any other public comment before we go to unfinished business for the evening? Okay. So we're going to go to unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
I would just ask the community to get the word out that we're looking for a couple more committee members and to have their to contact the office to let them put their names on the list and with a little blurb about why they would like to be on the committee.
Okay. If there is nothing else, this
Town hall is adjourned at 8:17. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, thank you, Brenda.